So when I reached that age of 17, because I never even did a drug, I started drinking at like 16 years old, but by 17 is when I smoked pot for the first time. It was like I found that group of friends that liked to party, and I didn't feel like I was being made fun of or judged. The only thing is that, you know, it came with a price tag of them wanting to get high and the peer pressure of having me participate in it.
Alyssa Valentin.
Hello.
What is going on? Thank you for your time here on Knockin Doorz Down. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good to talk to you and see you again.
Yes, I know it's been a little while. You know, I was thinking about it. I was like, I'm so glad that we waited to do it, because when I met you guys in Philadelphia, I was so tired and burnt out.
Oh, us too. We're on California time still.
Yeah. Well, you guys pulled it off very well. You know, it was like you were doing the interview with Mike, and, you know, I could tell you guys were vibing. I was like, you know, we can just do this another time.
But yes, it was a cool trip. For those that are listening, wondering what Alyssa's talking about, she was part of the crew for not only Mike the Situation, but Bam Margera, and it was a cool trip. We had a great time.
Yeah, we were at Bam Bam's house together. That was fun.
Yep, we were at Castle Bam. That was such a fun time. You know, you guys were inside doing the interview, and we were outside with Bam's wife and his son. And it was just so funny to see some of the things that, you know, Phoenix does, because he's a little Bam. He was riding that truck down the ramp and like doing a burnout at the end of it. I was like, wow, they've got to say the least.
So that's that nature versus nurture. Some of it's just ingrained. We can't avoid it, right?
Yeah, no, totally. But
so how's work going and everything for you right now? Of course, you know, part of the reason we connected there in Philadelphia, you work with Banyan Treatment Centers and having gone through your own rehabilitation, which we're going to get into, but a little more about work right now. How's it going, especially still in the COVID era?
So, you know what? I have nothing to complain about when it comes to work. Work is great. Work is amazing. Banyan is such an amazing organization to work for. And, you know, COVID's been tough for everybody, but we've really been able to combat a lot of the struggles that other companies maybe haven't. I know a lot of businesses closed down, but I mean, aside from that, we've opened up facilities during this time. We opened Palm Springs like that week that the shit really hit the fan, you know, like really close to that time period back in March. And then we have Texas opening up this week. And then we have another location in Massachusetts opening up at the end of the month. So we're killing them. I couldn't be more grateful. That's for sure. So
yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's neat to hear when people's story, they come from through their own addiction and then are doing the work out there within the community and helping other people. And really it's what we're about, as you know. So it's how did you come about working with the facility?
So I've been working in the treatment industry for about 7 or 8 years now. I can't even tell, the time just kind of flies by. So I started working in the industry because obviously I'm in recovery myself, and I was working at the treatment center that I went to as an alumni coordinator. And the alumni coordinator position was in the marketing department. And shortly after doing alumni, you know, the marketing director was like, I really feel like you have something different, unique, you're more creative in storytelling, and, you know, you always offer a lot of suggestions that have nothing to do with your department. So I quickly got pulled into full-on marketing as an intern, essentially from the beginning, learned a little bit about every little part of the department. And then I started working at Banyan, and now I'm the national director of marketing for them. So
that's so awesome.
So that's got to be pretty rewarding working for Banyan, being in recovery yourself. Take us back to a young Alyssa Valentin. Where did it all, how was it growing up, family life, all that good stuff?
So growing up, I mean, my family is amazing. We do have addiction that does run in our family, primarily alcoholism, but I also feel like alcoholism was like the first true addiction before like real deal addiction started kicking from the opioid epidemic. But, you know, I come from a very large Puerto Rican family. We love to have a good time. We love to party. So like drinking was very normalized at a very young age for me. And to be quite honest with you, like my immediate family, they taught me like the best core principles that you can in life. Like my mom and dad are successful people. My brother works for the State Department. You know, my sister is a director at her company. And, you know, it's funny, like my brother's never done drugs before. My sister was the girl that called my parents to pick her up from a house party because they were doing drugs. And then I wound up being a heroin addict. But I do believe a lot of that comes into play because there was some, you know, what we would call like innocent bullying growing up because my family was so large, which I've come to, well, I know now for me that I took it more seriously and it kind of impacted me. And as we see out there in the world that, you know, kids bully each other and it can lead them down a bad path. Yeah. So just because of the size of my family and having so many cousins, I have 32 first cousins, it's easy for one to kind of like make jokes, poke at one, and then everyone kind of hops on that bandwagon. And unfortunately, I kind of fell victim to that a little bit. So when I got to that like impressionable age as a young adult, I really had an issue with people pleasing, you know, and it wasn't like just my family. And then I went home or, you know, I went to school and I had a different group of friends. Like we were all the same age. We all lived in the same town. We all went to school together. So whatever happened there trickled into my school life. So I was bullied in school too. So when I reached that age of 17, because I never even did a drug, I started drinking at like 16 years old, but by 17 is when I smoked pot for the first time. It was like I found that group of friends that liked to party and I didn't feel like I was being made fun of or judged. The only thing is that, you know, it came with a price tag of them wanting to get high and the peer pressure of having me participate in it.
Did you feel somewhat guilty being that your brother wasn't that way? Neither was your sister. You were the only sibling to partake in that kind of stuff. Did that kind of wear on you a little bit, or was that all just trying to fit in?
No, of course. You know, it was like, I felt like a total black sheep when it came to my family, you know? Actually, my drug addiction and obviously the consequence of drug addiction was, you know, getting arrested and legal trouble that I was in. It almost affected my brother's job because first he worked for the Secret Service, and like part of that job is to do like a full background check, not just on them, but everybody in their immediate family. And he was like genuinely concerned. Like, I've literally worked for a decade in the military. I've done all these things. And if I can't get this job because of the mistakes you've made, like, I'm going to be really pissed.
Yeah, for sure.
Fuck, I can only imagine.
Literally his graduation at the White House, I was supposed to be there for the Secret Service graduation, but I was in rehab instead.
So. Damn.
Who was president at the time when he went into the Secret Service?
Oh my God, who was it? It was, let's just name off some of the past presidents because
Clinton, Bush,
right now.
Rock, Obama.
No, it was Obama.
Obama.
Yeah,
Obama.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that your Obama?
That's my Obama. Sorry.
Do it again.
That's excellent.
That's great. Great.
Because that's how he would talk. Right. He would just talk straightforward. Thank you, Alyssa.
So back to it. Your brother got in. Everything's been fine. And you were in rehab. It sucks you couldn't make it, but it's best because you're well. Or was that your first and only time in rehab? Did you do any kind of relapse, or were you good after that? Or
so that was my first time in rehab. I think just like anybody else, you kind of get out and you try to figure out like the bits and pieces of the suggestions that are told you, like, I'm going to take this one. I don't think I'm going to take this one.
Sure.
So I did wind up going a second time, but I really do believe the way that my family kind of approached my addiction issues and the bottom I had gotten to before I even went to treatment the first time really allowed me to be like, okay, like, I'm not doing this a million times. It blows my mind when I meet people that have been to treatment 30 times. I'm like, how? Like, that's crazy to me, you know? I was so done by the time I got to that point of going to treatment. I was homeless. I had nothing, you know, no one would talk to me. I had no friends. I was completely alienated. I was like maybe 90 pounds, emaciated, skin tone, the color gray, been arrested a million times. Like, I was done.
Yeah.
So you talked about from, just in high school, hooking up with that group that wanted to get high. How did it take us to the path to eventually using heroin? And like you said, ending up 90 pounds, emaciated, homeless.
5150 Apparel, lifestyle with a purpose.
So, growing up, I did know that drugs were bad, right? I actually, fun fact, was the honorary spokesperson for our DARE graduation. They chose me out of everybody in the class to stand up there at our graduation and say like how I believe drugs are bad. And that's how I was raised. And I do believe that kind of that people-pleasing mentality when I became friends with these people, it was peer pressure. Like the first time I smoked pot was because I was being told like, if you smoke this pot, I'll take you to go see your boyfriend in the neighboring town whenever you need to. Like I didn't have a car. It was like, stop being stupid. Like just do it. We're all doing it. Who cares? You're being so lame. Oh my God, why do we even hang out with you? So then it's like, oh, whatever, I'll try it, And then it's kind of like the impression that they teach you in DARE is like drugs are bad. So after you do it and you lose that fear the first time, it's like, wow, I didn't spontaneously combust. Like, okay, people use drugs because they like it, because it's fun, because it's enjoyable. So then it kind of just like takes that level of like, I'll never do drugs. So, okay, maybe now you're more open to it. And then it's like, I'm at a party, I walk downstairs in the basement and I see a bunch of my close friends like doing lines of coke and I immediately start freaking out and they're like, oh my God, you're being ridiculous. Like we've been doing this for months and you had no idea. Stop being lame, try it, go ahead. What's the problem? Like, we're not going to hang out with you anymore. Like, why do you have to be so dramatic? So then I try that, and it was like that progression every time. But the one drug that I actually did that I would say even before heroin is like my true, genuine drug of choice. Cause pot, I just smoked it because everyone else smoked it. I wasn't into it. Coke was like a party for a month. And I was like, this sucks. The first time I did ecstasy was like the holy grail for me. I was like, wow, like I feel good. I love everybody. I love myself. Right. And that was like the first time I was really drug seeking, like let's roll face every weekend. That's what I wanted to do. But I'm sure as you guys probably know, when you do ecstasy, it uses all the dopamine in your brain and you get a really bad hangover the next day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next day is hell.
That hangover is what led to heroin for me. So at that time that I was using ecstasy, I had like one friend that was using heroin. I didn't even know he was using heroin. Nobody was doing it at that time. This was like right before the opiate epidemic really came to New Jersey, which is where I'm from. Like it was going on in Florida, but I didn't live in Florida at the time. So he was going to Newark to get his heroin and he asked if my boyfriend and I wanted to go for a ride with him. He didn't want to be by himself. It was a 40-minute drive. We're like, yeah, sure, whatever, we're not doing anything. My boyfriend and I have like a major hangover in the backseat. We're talking about how we don't feel good. And he's like, I'm going to go pick up D is what he called it. I didn't even know I was doing heroin the first time I did it. Anyway, it's a little side piece there. He's like, it's a painkiller. Like if you want to take like a little bump, you're going to feel better. And I was like, nah, this D nonsense. I don't know what that is. And
no, he didn't say heroin. He just said D.
Never. Yep. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea. And then my boyfriend was like, well, I feel like shit. I'm doing it. Like, I don't care. And after I saw him do like this tiny little bump and like feel better, I was like, well, shit, I want to feel better too, And all it took was that fingernail line. It was the smallest little bump to be hooked and lose myself for over 3 years.
So at what point did you figure out that it wasn't because I feel like heroin, just that word alone carries so much power. Like when you think of drugs, it's like weed, okay, coke, well, it's the champagne of drugs. Celebrities do coke. It's whatever. But heroin, when you just hear heroin, it's just so intense. When did you find out that it was actually that D was heroin?
Probably not until I started having withdrawals, which I didn't even know was a thing when I tried it.
So were you pissed off when you found out? Like, what the fuck? This was heroin?
Yeah, but at that point I was hooked to it. So it didn't really matter what it was.
Right. Damn.
So you were hooked then pretty damn quick.
so fast. I mean, I'm pretty sure the statistic is like you do it for 3 days in a row and you're physically addicted. And for me, not knowing that, I didn't even know what I was doing, let alone that little bit of information. I did it for a week straight and having a great time. I go to my sister's house and I'm like, why am I so cold? And I'm like clammy. I'm like, what is wrong with me? And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I don't feel good. And I have no idea why. And then come to find out, it's because I was having a physical dependency issue with heroin and I didn't know I was using it. So, fun stuff.
Go ahead. What was that first withdrawal like?
It's awful. I mean, you feel like you have the flu, I guess you would say. I mean, I've only had the flu once in my life and it was pretty horrendous, but
gosh,
I mean,
you're one of those. I get the flu like once every fucking year.
Do you really? Yeah, that's awful. Colds, clammy, sweats, you know, your armpits are just like dripping, your stomach hurts, you can't eat, you can't focus, you can't think, you're shaking. I mean, it's the worst feeling on the planet. And once you recognize that like a little bit of something can take it away, like you're not going to want to go through that. And especially because as the days go on, it gets worse. You know, I mean, we're talking about, you can try to detox at home. It can take up to 2 weeks for some people and it's complete hell. And if you don't take care of yourself properly, like they say the detox itself won't kill you, but like being dehydrated from it and like, you know, the other things to collectively be a part of it, that could kill you. So it's really dangerous to detox at home, let alone most people can't make it through the first couple of days. You know, eventually you start puking, you know, like it's a mess.
Coming out both ends, I've heard.
Coming out both ends, yes. I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, it's the shits, literally.
Literally. But yeah, I mean, it's just a terrible drug. And like, if I knew then what I know now, like maybe things would have been differently, but I can't change anything in the past. And at the end of the day, what I've been able to do with my life from those days, like I would never give it up. You know, it sounds crazy, but like my life today is so amazing. I've helped so many people throughout their own addictions and like just where my career has taken me. You know, I'm like known for working with like recovery celebrities. Like that's pretty cool. You know, we're help storytelling and saving people at the same time and giving them inspiration and hope.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, the first week when you found out you were addicted at your sister's house and you had all the sweats and all that, what was your first initial thought? Like, oh fuck, I'm addicted to heroin. What was going through your head when you like put all that together? Yeah. That D was heroin, now I'm addicted. Walk us through that.
You know, I mean, at the time, I was so young and naive. I really truly believed like, well, I guess this is my life now. You know, I was 19 years old. I didn't have a lot of self-esteem, obviously, if I'm like hanging out with these individuals. And it sucked, but I was also in a lot of denial. Like, yes, I realized, oh my God, I think I'm sick from the drugs, but it still like took me a while to realize like, I can't just quit. I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to start. I'm just going to keep doing this. And still the consequences of my life weren't that bad at that time. It was like, yeah, I was withdrawing, but I still had a job. I still had some friends. Not everybody knew I was using, but like shortly after that day, like everyone started to find out. Like I said, my family's big. They're all throughout town. Like the word got out and people just cut me off. I mean, all of my friends stopped talking to me, my family, like nobody wanted to be involved with me. But let me tell you something, my addiction was a fighter. It kept going for years until there was nothing left. And I had no choice but to get better.
Was there anyone that right off the bat that was like, hey, cut the shit, some early interventions or anything? Or did it kind of just, the withdrawal of everybody kind of trickled down your spiral?
So my brother and sister actually tried to intervene on me pretty early on once the word got out that I was using. Like my brother flew into town, which he never really does. And my sister's like, yeah, we're all going to hang out together. because we're young adults and we want to have a relationship. I'm like, okay, this is weird, whatever. And they sat down with me and they tried to talk to me and asked me if I was, I heard you were using heroin. Is that true? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Like, just complete denial. I was still having too good of a time. I was in love with it at that point, you know?
Right.
It wasn't until years later that I had gone through all the struggles with the world that comes with heroin addiction that I really started to resent it and want to make a change.
Right. Yeah, because at that point, you, like you said, all the insecurities, the being bullied, which is so, in some states, it's becoming the #1 cause for suicide of teens. In certain states, it's also suicide is the #1 death rate. And, you know, so you're affected by all that. And then here's this thing that takes away all those fears and those feels and everything else. And like you said, between the ecstasy and the heroin, you're just like, you know.
I felt invincible. Like, I didn't have to worry about any of those pains and struggles that I had dealt with for such a long time.
Yeah. Now, sounds very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So you, at this point, your siblings have kind of intervened. You deny it, but we still got about another 2 years of usage before there. What kind of lead us to your rock bottom?
So, you know, after they kind of approached me, there were some instances where, like, you know, my mom really struggled with my addiction in general. She wanted to help me. She didn't know how to help me. And it was a lot of like learning behavior of not letting her enable me. And trust me, I manipulated the shit out of her. My dad, I didn't live with him. They're divorced, but I lived with my mom and we were always close since day one as a kid. Like, I was such a weird kid. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and like kiss her and hug her in her sleep just because I loved her.
Adorable.
And go back to that. Yeah. I'm telling you, my mom is like, I never thought in a million years that this would be the life that you would live. You were so sweet. You always like stood up for people. Like, I beat up these 2 kids because they were jumping someone else at the bus stop and got called into the principal's office and like told, you shouldn't do that, but like, we're proud of you. You know, like, I always stood up for people. I didn't believe in using drugs. I didn't believe in treating people bad. And then here I am, addicted to heroin and strung out. And now I'm robbing, I'm stealing because I don't make a lot of money at my job. And honestly, like, the company I worked for at the time, I knew the owner since I was like 6 years old. So he really felt for me a lot. And he kind of like dealt with my bullshit so I would have insurance. And eventually he was actually the one the first time to be like, listen, when you're good, you're great. Like, you're one of the best employees I have. You're so smart. But when you're bad, you're bad. And I can't have this here. Like, I want you to go to treatment. Yeah. So I went because he pushed me to the first time. But it took my mom.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it took my mom, you know, a long time to really get past like seeing that it was a genuine problem, because the ones closest to you never want to believe that it's true.
Yeah. You know, sounds very familiar. It's interesting you talk about that, whereas like the ultimatum situation, when we talked to Charlie Sheen, he was even that way. It's like, okay, well, I'll stay clean while I'm working, and then I'll do all these other things you want me to. But then once it's my time again, fuck you guys, I'm going to go do it how I want to do it. Was that kind of what took place for you?
Yeah, pretty much. He said, I'll pay you while you're there. I'm like, all right, great. I'll have lots of money when I get out. Like, let's do this. And then obviously I got out and I wasn't there for the right reasons. And it was my first time. And what was I, 21 at the time? Like, I was still really young, you know, and I didn't believe that maybe I shouldn't stop drinking. And it was like that first day that I got back to my hometown, I was approached with heroin and I had no defense mechanism against it. Like, I was like, okay, we're doing this. But, you know, it's like you have that moment, you're finally clean, you know, after going to detox and going through the withdrawals of that. And then you see a bag in front of you and you can't control yourself. You just do it. It's crazy. You just went through all of this. You immediately forget all the lying and stealing and cheating and breaking into places and doing crazy stuff, being homeless. Like, I lived in a car for a year. My knees used to kill me from sleeping in the back of a car, you know, like in the freezing cold, the winters of New Jersey. Like, I was not okay. And then I go to treatment and I just give it up.
Isn't that crazy how it works? Like right when you get back, there it is right in front of you. I remember when I got back from my I didn't have a phone. I still haven't even gotten a phone yet or anything. I go to the gas station and I see the dealer there. I'm just like, what the fuck are the odds? That's just, it's absolutely insane. So backing up a little bit, you went to rehab the first time because your boss wanted you to go and you just weren't about it. So when you were in rehab, did you kind of have the mentality like, fuck, I can't wait to get out so I can go do this because I'm going to have money because he said he was going to pay me. So I'm going to have a shit ton of money. I'm going to load up. I'm going to be good. Like, was that your mindset, or did a little bit behind you think, you know what, maybe I should get better? Or because I know 21's young. It is a young age to, you know, get help and whatnot. But what was your mindset when you went for the first time?
So it was a little mixture of both. Like initially it was like, yes, I'm just going to go. People will get off my back. I'll have this money. I can do whatever I want when I get out. Like 30 days in, I'm out. I can do me again. Sure. But on the other side of things, like the real Alyssa on the inside was like, you know, go, let's try to get better. Like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And when I was there, I did learn a lot. I was super grateful for the experience. Like I enjoyed being there. You know, I liked the therapy. It did help me a lot. But unfortunately, the program that I went to the first time, like they just weren't strict enough. And I was able to manipulate, like the whole time I was in PHP, to get like an hour break that we could walk off the property and like go do whatever we wanted. And don't even ask me how, because I don't know. I was Western Unioning myself, picking up money, going to the gas station, buying spice. I was high as a kite on spice the entire time I was in PHP.
I forgot about spice. Fuck.
That shit is rough. Spice is no good. So there's
That's
only
legal though, isn't it? Spice, you could buy that in like smoke shops and shit, can't you?
It's legal, but I promise you, it's 100% not okay.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like, that shit. I remember my buddy of mine did it, and he started crying because he thought his face was coming off. Yeah, no, that shit is not okay.
No, it's awful. I have like collapsed on spice, like felt my whole body like locking up, and I'm like waiting for it to be over, and it's only like 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, it was terrifying. Mm-hmm. And then you rip it again, you know? So like the addiction, the addict mentality was definitely there.
Right.
But you know, like I'm saying, it's really hard to be successful in treatment when you're smoking spice the entire time. Sure, so yeah. I had a hard time letting go of those like manipulative tendencies.
Mm-hmm. And then the second bout in rehab, that was your decision?
That was all me. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I came home. I told you I was approached by my ex-boyfriend with heroin. The day I got home, I have a present for you. He's lying, telling me he was sober. He had been in like prison for 9 months prior to that. So I actually believed him. Stupid of me. So of course it's off to the races. And in 3 short months, I was able to like deteriorate everything again. And the day that I decided to make the phone call to get help, that night before, I had nowhere to go. No friends would let me sleep on their couch. Like I couldn't find anywhere to go. So I slept on a lawn chair in someone's backyard, and it was like June. So it was really hot, and I woke up with like mosquito bites all over me, and I was like burnt and miserable. I was like, I cannot live like this anymore. I am so done. And that's when I decided to make the call. And that's when I got into the treatment center that I went to. And I made that decision right then and there, although it was kind of forced on me. Like I can't do the same things that I did before, you know? So I called my parents. I told them I want to go. This time it's for me. Like I'm serious. I'm done. I don't want to live like this anymore. My mom and dad picked me up. They brought me to the airport. My dad puts my suitcase on the curb. He hands me $20. He goes, here you go. Have a nice life. You're no longer welcome in the state of New Jersey. So figure it out. Oh, it's like, okay.
That's not tough love. I don't know what it is.
Holy shit.
$20, have a great life. Figure it out. We are done. And you know what? I never looked back.
The Knockin Doorz Down Autobiography by Carlos Vieira. It takes you deep into his destructive past and how racing saved his life and opened the door to give back to the community. And 100% of the sales go directly to the Carlos Vieira Foundation, an organization committed to raising awareness for addiction, mental health, and autism. And for inspiration and motivation, tune in weekly to the podcast every Thursday for real-life episodes from celebrities and local heroes. Get Knockin Doorz Down today at kddmediacompany.com or Amazon.
I went to treatment. I got out. I did have another stint with Spice while living in the halfway house, although it was like the worst experience. I was getting high with this girl. I literally did not talk. We would sit there high as a kite on Spice for an hour straight looking at each other. I'm like, this is awful. I'm not really
That's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Sounds so absolutely weird. Miserable.
But, you know, that was like a week. And then I was like, all right, I'm really done. But I got a job. I was working in a call center, making like nothing. I was barely able to pay my rent at the halfway house. And, I had food stamps to eat food, but I didn't ask my parents for anything. They weren't willing to give it anyway, but I was able to like just chip away at these little milestones and accomplishments, like pay down my debt to get my license back. Then eventually, like, it's like, God really worked for me in some amazing ways in life. Like as soon as I got my license back, it was like, okay, like now I need to start saving up for a car. And then all of a sudden this opportunity fell in my lap to get a car, like a beater for $300. And like, I could afford that at that time, So like now, like I'm able to, I have wheels, like I can get around, and I'm like helping people go to meetings and, doing whatever I need to do to give back. And then I decide to get a better job, now I'm ready to work in treatment. And then it's like, now this path for a career starts. And like, it's just, life is, I can't even believe that like I have some of the memories that I do. I always say it's like, you possess a stranger's memories in life, because the person I am today, like I would never in a million years do any of the things that I did. I can't even believe I did them.
Oh God, yes. I'm sure that, but I know I can relate. I'm sure he can too. It's just like, fuck, that is not the person I ever, when you talk about who you were innately as a child to who you are now, it's like having met you and then, our mutual friend that's, was like, oh, well, Alyssa's got a story too. I would have fucking not believed it, because you're like vibrant, full of energy, life, wife, family orientated and all these things. It's unreal.
So, it's funny that you say that, because I was speaking at a meeting one time and, I walk up, I tell my story, and then this older Black dude in the back, he raises his hand. He goes, man, I just got to tell you, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, why? He's like, I saw you walk up in this room. I was like, oh Lord, here we go. I'm going to sit here and listen to her talk about how she drank wine with her nanny. And then you open up your mouth and I'm like, damn girl, I misjudged you. So I am sorry.
For real. Like, we heard that. I was like, her, really?
No, it's wonderful, and just so much love to you for how much you've turned your life around. And now, like you said, that blessing that came along, the $300 beater car, to getting people to meetings, and the accountability that's so important.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like everything that's happened in my time period of recovery, which I have 9 years sober. I'm going to have 10 years on October 28th. It's like everything, the good and the bad, because life still happens, but especially the bad, like it just drives me to want to do better in life. Like I've lost so many people to the disease of addiction. And like every time that happens, like it blows my mind that somebody dies of an overdose and then somebody can relapse over it. I'm like, I resent drugs for taking away that person from me, like everything just fuels me to want to keep doing better and to keep staying on this path. Like nothing is worth giving away what I have now.
So have you patched up your relationship with your dad since then, or?
Oh yeah. My parents couldn't be more proud of me. Oh, yeah. I am like, we're so happy. We have such a good relationship, like there's never one time I talk to them that we don't say we love each other. And, they've used the struggles of the situation with me to help other parents too, And they understand, and they see like the same way that we kind of talk about it in recovery, like my mess turned into a message. They use it the same way to kind of empower them to get through that.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. Hey, Mikey, are you feeling some random questions?
Sure. We have these random questions for you, Alyssa. You have to answer them in 3 seconds or they will be skipped and we'll move on to the next one.
He's kidding.
Just kidding. We just got some fun questions we like to wrap up the episode with. Are you ready?
I am ready.
If they were to make a movie about you, who would you cast as the actress to play you?
So I would have to say Lady Gaga.
Love it.
First of all, she's an amazing actress. I've also been told I look like her, which I don't think so, but she's got that weird.
Right when you said Lady Gaga, I'm like, I could totally say, when you first came on and we first saw you, or hell, when we first met you, I did not get that whatsoever. But now that you say that, I'm like, okay. I mean, I could see her playing you. Yeah. Oh, and also to touch on that too, I had no idea the New Jersey, but the more and more you talk, I hear it. I totally hear it.
Yeah, it comes out.
Yeah, I totally hear it.
No, I caught it when we were in Philadelphia.
I didn't catch it in Philly. I didn't catch it.
I was just sitting there talking with Mike, but yeah, and the good thing about Lady Gaga too, her own struggles with addiction, so probably definitely really understand. Sure. Any pet peeves?
I mean, I have a lot, but I would say that the biggest thing that drives me crazy is people being lazy. I hate when people don't try to figure something out for themselves. And I guess it's primarily because I deal with a lot of people like that they come to me because they know that I have the answer on things and they try to figure it out themselves.
Never dealt with that in my life ever. Yes. That's your only pet? That's your biggest one? Or do you have any other ones that kind of grind you?
You could even get petty with them.
I mean, I don't know. That's definitely a big one for me. It kind of gets me real feisty. But I mean, I guess we can say like when people don't flush the toilet, my stepson does that all the time. It drives me crazy. When people are messy. I don't know, man. I'm pretty chill. Like it takes a lot to like get me real worked up. And I think that's just like the work that I've put into myself. I'm like, everything's fine. It's okay.
It is what it is, man. Okay. If you could have dinner with just one person, living or not, who would it be?
You know, my mind instantly goes to like a million celebrities maybe, but sure. I don't know. I think I would probably have to say one of my good friends that passed away, his name is Danny. Just because we were like super, super close and he passed away a few years ago. And I think it would be really nice to be able to chat with him one more time.
Just to get that last talk. Yeah.
Favorite curse word?
F-U-C-K.
You can say fuck. It's okay.
Say it a lot.
Unless it makes you uncomfortable, then I'm just saying it's okay to say it on this podcast.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, the good thing about that word is it's a noun, it's a verb, it's an adjective, it's an adverb. It can fit in any sort of setting. So
you know, it's funny. I used to curse a lot in early recovery. It was just part of the street life, I guess. I don't know. And then Tech said to me in treatment, like, you're such a beautiful girl, but your mouth is awful. Like, you just talk so awful. You curse so much. You should probably work on that. So ever since that day, I've been a little self-conscious about the amount of cursing I do.
So that was an incredibly inappropriate question, Jason.
Okay, I'm gonna let
I curse. Don't get it twisted.
I'm gonna let Mikey finish the interview.
What is your favorite hobby?
What is my favorite hobby? I mean, I would love to say exercise. I do like to work out a lot, but I like to make pottery.
Oh, nice.
That's my thing. Yeah.
I thought maybe he was chasing around the stepson or something, you know, because that's a handful. Like, that's a good workout. Biggest inspiration or mentor in life?
Oh man, I don't.
And maybe they're two different people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been points, I feel like it's like people in my life, like people that are close to me that I look up to a lot of my friends, but yeah, I don't think I have like a celebrity. I don't even know if you're referring to that, but there's like the people I keep around me, they inspire me a lot for all the different things that they do. You know, like I'm close with Megan Leach. I know you interviewed her.
Yeah.
So like I have so many good people around me, and like little things that they do, they really inspire me, and we kind of inspire each other.
I love it.
I can feel the same. Jason, he inspires me. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so I know exactly what you're talking about.
To do what? I don't know.
If your friends aren't inspiring you, you need new friends.
Good point.
Good point. Absolutely. You keep your circle the way it is for that reason, whatever that may be, even inspiring. Okay. If you could travel anywhere in time, but you had to stay there, like in the past, in the future, but you had to stay there, where would you go?
I don't know. I'd probably say year 2000. It was a pretty fun time.
So you'd go back in time.
No, I think I'd go back in time because, I mean, just with the knowledge I have now, I'd probably like invest in Tesla or something like that.
Or GameStop.
Or GameStop.
That shit already tanked my
luck.
Get on that shit.
Yeah. That ship set sail. It went boom, boom.
I was literally so pissed. Like a couple of my coworkers like got in on that and knew about that. I was like, hey, do me a solid. The next time you know something like that, hook a sister up, please.
Yeah, and for real. Let me shoot you $10 so I can make 40 grand off it. Like, can you do me a solid? That'd be great.
Like even Amazon, if you look at Amazon stock pre-pandemic to where it's at now, it's like, fuck, if you had thrown $1,000 in there, you would have like quadrupled your money.
I'm right there with you though. I'd go in the past based off of everything that's happened starting since 2020. And now they're doing anal swabs to test COVID. I'm just like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going back in time.
No, I hear you on that one for sure.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Fucking Mikey. All right. One last one, dear. What do you think is your greatest achievement?
I think my recovery. Definitely. Sure. Because without that, I wouldn't have anything else. You know? Saving my life has saved others and continues to save me on a daily basis. So,
yeah, I love it.
That's a perfect way to go out right there.
Anything, any other words of inspiration, Miss Alyssa, that you'd like to offer to the viewers? Anyone that's maybe questioned, hey, you know, their addiction, entering rehab, gone through rehab, post it, keeping sober?
I think one thing I would like to say is that, you know, so many people out there fear it and they're not able to push themselves to get the help that they need. They overcomplicate it, you know, like treatment is easy and you just got to get yourself to that front door. And once you get there, you realize like, it's all going to be okay. You know, everyone has this misconception of like what treatment is. They assume it's going to be a jail and that like only celebrities get to go to the good places. And that's not the case at all. There's really good treatment out there. You know, we have an epidemic in our country when it comes to not only COVID, but addiction and mental health disorders. And like, it's so important to treat yourself for this. And like, there's no reason to be ashamed anymore. You know, the stigma has been lifting and it's probably the most lifted that it's been in the past decade. And like, you're not alone.